Tony Beets arrived in Canada with just $200 in his pocket. Today, he owns a $20 million mining empire and vacations in a Mexican oceanfront condo. But here's what Gold Rush cameras never showed you. He sleeps on a couch during mining season with only chocolate milk in his fridge. He set a pond on fire that cost him $31,000 in fines just for a Viking ritual. And the most shocking part? He refused to follow Discovery's scripts and became the highest-paid miner on the show anyway. This is the story of a man who built luxury on his own brutal terms. Tony Beets was born on December 15, 1959, in a frozen Dutch village called Weidenes. That winter was brutal. The temperature dropped to -18°C and killed almost a quarter of the region's livestock. His family had 4 kids, and Tony was the third. His father owned 52 cows and barely made 2 guilders a cow each month. By the time Tony was 5, he was up before sunrise, milking cows with hands so small they'd blister trying to grip the frozen teats. He did this every day before school for 8 straight years. Most years, he missed over 40 days of school because of farm emergencies. He was already choosing work over everything else. Their house was tiny, just 89 square meters for 6 people. Tony slept in the same bed as his 2 brothers until he was 14. His parents worked more than 14 hours a day just to keep the farm running. The cows gave about 847 liters of milk each day during the best season. But once you took out feed costs, vet bills, and repairs, the family barely cleared 240 guilders a month. That wasn't enough. His mom collapsed twice during calving season. She had to be hospitalized once. Every day was the same. Clean 50 stalls, haul over 2 tons of hay every week, and deal with cow deaths that cost nearly 2,000 guilders to fix. His dad got arthritis by age 45. His fingers twisted from years of milking. The extra cheese they sold added just 180 guilders a month. Not even close to enough. At 12, Tony made a move that shocked the whole town. He refused to attend church confirmation classes. Everyone went, but he wanted to work. That year, he started driving a 1965 Massey Ferguson tractor, worth more than the family saved in a year. He had a gift for machines. He could listen to an engine and tell what was wrong. He once rebuilt a busted hydraulic system using junk metal and wire. Then came a serious injury. In March 1972, a cow kicked him in the chest. He broke 2 ribs and started bleeding inside. He spent 6 days in the hospital. The bill was 420 guilders, and that hurt the family finances badly. His father wasn't just angry about the money. He was angry Tony had entered the stall alone. But that boldness would become a pattern. At 16, Tony fell for a girl named Minnie. Her family's farm was just 340 meters away, but their families hated each other. Her dad had banned her from seeing any of the Beets boys after Tony's brother was caught stealing apples. But they met in secret, in the hayloft of an old barn. They even carved their initials into the wood nearly 5 meters up. Within months, they were dreaming of running away to Canada. When Minnie thought she was pregnant in early 1977, it nearly exposed them. She was 43 days late. That scare convinced Tony the farm life had nothing to offer. In 1978, he did the math. The farm earned 1,480 guilders that year, but the costs were over 12,000. That left a little over 2,500 in actual profit. Diesel prices had tripled since the oil crisis. Milk prices had been stuck at 0.68 guilders a liter for 3 years. Tony's own wage was just 500 guilders a month, less than minimum wage, but his father couldn't pay more. When their best cow died of mastitis and they couldn't afford to replace it, Tony watched his father cry over the numbers. That was the final straw. He found out Canadian farm workers made more than double what he earned. In 1980, he packed up and left. Tony and Minnie arrived in Abbotsford, Canada, with just $200. No English. His first job was at Pacific Mushroom Farms. The place was awful. Long shifts in dark, windowless rooms that smelled like rot. The air stank of ammonia, and rats crawled through the compost. He made $3.50 an hour. Minnie, who was pregnant, sorted mushrooms for even less. They lived in a cold basement and slept in winter coats. Tony couldn't read warning signs and almost got crushed by a forklift. After 8 months, they had both lost 30 pounds and thought about giving up. But they didn't. Then came a turning point. In March 1982, while working construction in Vancouver, the scaffolding gave out during a storm. Tony fell 30 feet and cracked his skull. He spent 6 days in the hospital. The injury payout was $10,000. That was life-changing money. But what shocked him more was that the company had ignored safety warnings. 3 other workers had reported problems with the scaffolding, and nobody cared. That experience gave Tony a deep distrust of authority. He used the money to buy a truck and tools. He swore he'd never work under anyone like that again. Tony moved to Alberta and got a job on an oil rig. The pay was decent, $15 an hour, but the work dried up fast. By late 1984, oil prices crashed from $34 to $10 a barrel. Tony lost his job, along with 85,000 others. Their rent was $500 a month, and now they had 3 kids. Minnie worked 2 shifts at a diner. Her hands were always burned from hot grease. Tony pawned everything he had, even their wedding rings. They heated baby bottles with candle. Then, on Christmas Eve, their landlord gave them eviction papers. That night, Tony decided to go north. He drove to Dawson City in an old 1976 Ford pickup with over 200,000 miles on it. He had $200 in his pocket. The truck broke down 6 times on the Alaska Highway. Once, the brakes failed on an icy mountain pass. He fixed it with wire hangers and duct tape. When he got to town, he asked every mining camp for work. Even though he had no clue how gold mining worked, people laughed at him. But his skills with heavy machines got him hired at Guggenheim Creek for $12 an hour. On his first day, he drove a bulldozer into a sluice box and caused $3,000 in damage. But instead of quitting, he worked 16-hour days to make up for it. They kept him. That first winter nearly killed him. He lived in an old trailer with newspapers stuffed in the walls. The inside temperature dropped to -20 degrees. Outside, it was -45. The heater kept breaking. He slept in every layer of clothing he owned. One night in January 1985, he got stuck outside during a blizzard fixing a generator. His hands froze. 3 fingers turned black. The nurse said he needed to be flown out to avoid amputation, but Tony couldn't afford that. He soaked his hands in warm water for weeks. He lost feeling in 2 fingers. He ate mostly beans and lost 40 pounds. Minnie was terrified he wouldn't make it to spring. Then came a breakthrough. He was earning $200 a week working equipment for a mining crew. When their main excavator broke down, Tony scavenged parts from abandoned machines. He fixed it in 2 days. That saved the crew's $150,000 season. They doubled his pay. He realized his mechanical skills could make him rich. In 1986, he leased his first claim for $5,000 near Bonanza Creek. He pulled out 20 ounces of gold, about $8,000. But spring floods wiped out his shelter and half his gear. He lost $4,000. It was a harsh lesson. Nature didn't care how hard you worked. Next year, he partnered with a guy named Jake Morrison. Jake had impressive gold reports. Tony put in his entire $20,000 savings, but the numbers were fake. They barely found any gold. Jake had scammed 2 other miners the same way. Tony fought him in the street and took him to court. He lost everything and had to declare bankruptcy. His reputation took a hit, but the local miners who knew the truth still respected him. In 1988, he worked for Big Al McGregor. Tony noticed that fine gold was escaping through large screens. He built a 3-stage mesh system that improved recovery by 30%. Al gave him $50,000 in bonuses that year. But Tony didn't tolerate slackers. He fired 3 workers for drinking on the job. People started seeing him as someone who didn't mess around. In 1989, temperatures dropped to -50-degree Celsius. Most operations shut down, but Tony's crew had one last rich patch to dig. He welded repairs himself, wearing 3 layers of gloves. He built a heating system using diesel burners to keep machines from freezing. They pulled out 150 ounces of gold, worth $60,000. Tony kept half. He used that money to buy a used Caterpillar 225 excavator. That moment made him an owner, not just a worker. In 1990, Tony Beets was just 31 when he bought Tamarack Inc. for $1.2 million. People thought he'd lost his mind. He took out loans with painful interest rates just to get the deal done. The company came with 10 mining claims across 500 acres, which sounded promising. But less than a year later, Tony found out the previous owners had hidden debts, $800,000 worth. Equipment loans unpaid, payroll taxes ignored, environmental fines still hanging. He was already in deep water. To stay afloat, he sold his house, worked nearly 18 hours a day, and threw everything into the company. Some nights, he wanted to quit, but he kept pushing. So did Minnie. That kept Tamarack alive. By 1991, he took a big risk on Scribner Creek. He poured in $200,000 to upgrade the wash plant, which was basically all the money he had left. At first, it seemed like it was working. He pulled out 400 ounces of gold, which was worth around $160,000 back then. But things turned fast. The ground betrayed him. 2 bulldozers, each worth $80,000, were swallowed up by sinkholes when the permafrost started shifting. Tony and his crew tried to dig them out, but both machines were a total loss. That season hurt, but it taught him things no book ever could, especially about Yukon's frozen ground and how not to fight it. In 1992, gold prices dropped to $350 an ounce. People panicked. Tony didn't. He saw it as an opening. Other miners were desperate, selling their claims for almost nothing. He bought 5 new ones for just $2,000 an acre, when they usually went for more than double that. That move made Tamarack the 3rd largest operation in Yukon by size. But not everyone was happy. Rivals accused him of mining on their land. Some even filed complaints. But nothing came of it. It only made Tony's name bigger. Some called him a shark, others called him smart. A year later, in 1993, trouble came from inside. A group of 12 workers had been secretly sabotaging the operation for months, messing with equipment, ruining gold recovery systems. It cost Tony $50,000 in losses before he caught on. When he fired all of them at once, things got ugly. They vandalized $30,000 worth of machinery. He hired guards for $500 a day just to keep the site safe. Out of options, he turned to family. Minnie took over the books. Relatives filled key roles. The new crew saved him $100,000 in wages. That season ended with 600 ounces worth $240,000. Smaller crew, bigger heart, better results. Then came 1994. Tony took the biggest gamble of his career. He leased Paradise Hill for $500,000, then spent $300,000 more on triple wash plants. The reward? 1,000 ounces in a single season, $400,000 in gold. But it didn't last. A neighboring mine had a cyanide spill. Poison ran into Tony's water source. Fish died. His equipment stopped. For 3 weeks, nothing moved. Cleanup and backup systems cost him $150,000. He was furious, not just at the damage, but at the government, who he blamed for letting that kind of processing happen. From then on, he built his own water recycling system so no one else could shut him down again. In 1995, Paradise Hill became everything. Tony spent $1 million on a massive trommel wash plant. He ran it himself, day and night, for 72 hours straight. No sleep, just him and the machine. That's when things went wrong. Diesel fumes filled the area. Tony passed out from carbon monoxide poisoning. He had to be rushed to the hospital. Doctors said it could have caused permanent damage. He survived, and Paradise Hill pulled in 1/200 ounces, worth $480,000. He spent another $25,000 on better ventilation, swearing never to let that happen again. A year later, he bought the Indian River claims for $750,000. The land held ancient riverbeds rich in gold. Tony tried something bold. He brought in high-pressure water cannons, 2,000 psi blasts, to cut through permafrost. It worked. In 6 months, they pulled out 1/500 ounces worth $600,000. But then, disaster. One of his best excavators, worth $300,000, sank into soft mud caused by all the blasting. Tony spent 3 weeks digging it out by hand and small tools in freezing weather. He recovered it, but it cost another $50,000 in repairs. That mistake taught him how dangerous soft ground could be, even with good tech. In 1997, things turned personal. His son, Kevin, just 16, stormed off after an argument. Tony had yelled at him during a rough shift, and Kevin quit on the spot. They didn't talk for half a year. It was a low point. But as that season went on, Indian River produced 2,000 ounces, $800,000 worth. Meanwhile, a massive fuel shortage hit the region. A First Nations blockade stopped diesel deliveries. Tony's site ran dry for 3 weeks. Airlifting fuel cost $50,000 more than usual. After that, he always kept reserves and started building better ties with local communities. 1998 brought another challenge. He built a $400,000 road system to reach new areas of Paradise Hill. To celebrate, he drove the first truck himself. Then spring came. Floods hit like never before. Water swallowed $2 million in equipment. Everything vanished under 8 feet of rushing water. Tony didn't give up. He bought $200,000 worth of pumps and started draining. It took 5 weeks, but he saved most of the gear. That year still ended with 2,500 ounces, $1 million. After that, he moved everything to higher ground and installed flood alarms. Then came 1999, the biggest year yet. Tamarack produced 3,000 ounces, $1.2 million. But during an audit, they found $100,000 worth of gold missing. Cameras revealed the thief, Jake Morrison, a mechanic Tony trusted like family. Jake had been stealing gold for 6 months, selling it in Dawson City. Tony was crushed. Jake went to jail for 18 months. Tony swore from then on, only family would be allowed in the inner circle. In 2010, Tony shocked everyone again. He bought an old 1930s Viking dredge for $1 million. It hadn't run in 30 years. Most thought it was worthless. He had it torn down during brutal winter, even as temps hit -40. 2 companies he hired went bankrupt trying to handle the mess. Parts needed full restoration. He ended the year $500,000 deeper in debt. He even mortgaged Paradise Hill. Many called it his worst decision ever. By 2011, reassembly began. The project now cost $2 million. When the dredge ran in August, it produced 500 ounces, $200,000 worth. But disaster came on day 12. The massive bucket chain snapped and sank into the river. The chain weighed 8 tons. Tony had to hire divers and recovery teams, costing $150,000. He dove in himself, even though the water was only 4 degrees C. It delayed operations for 3 weeks. adding $75,000 in lost production. The chain had to be rebuilt from scratch. In 2012, the dredge finally worked well. It pulled in 1,000 ounces, $400,000, at lower costs than wash plants. But then Tony tried something stupid. He poured 50 gallons of gasoline into the dredge pond and lit it on fire for fun. Government shut him down. Fish died. He got fined $75,000 and lost 6 weeks of work. It ended up costing him $180,000 in total losses and legal trouble. 2013 brought profits again. Viking dredge produced 2,000 ounces, $800,000. But the main motor failed in July. The oil hadn't been changed for too long. Rebuilding the engine cost $85,000. Production stopped for a month, losing another $300,000. Tony lived on the dredge, slept beside the motor, and rebuilt it with Mike. He lost 25 pounds during the grind. Then 2014 changed everything. Viking pulled 5,000 ounces, $10 million. One day alone brought in 47 ounces. But corrosion almost destroyed the dredge. Steel hulls had thinned by 40%. Tony spent $400,000 to fix it. He welded new plates himself in -30 cold. He got frostbite on 3 fingers but wouldn't hire help. After that, the Viking became the only dredge of its kind still operating in North America. Behind all this was Minnie. She managed their $5 million yearly budget with razor precision. In 2000, when their main excavator died, she leased a new one for $200,000 without telling Tony. It saved their season. In 2002, she had enough of his long hours and left for 2 weeks until he promised to hire more crew. Even Tony had limits, and Minnie set them. Monica became Yukon's youngest female bulldozer operator at 16, making $80,000. In 2010, she shocked everyone by eloping. When she came back pregnant and demanded her job, Tony was livid. But when she improved gold recovery in 2012 by 4,000 ounces, he saw her value. Her skills made millions, and she became vital to the operation. Kevin's big moment came in 2015. Tony gave him land but refused to lend new equipment. Kevin worked with old gear and still pulled in 1,000 ounces, $400,000. It proved Tony wrong. That changed everything between them. Mike had his crisis in 2016. He pushed his crew too hard, 14-hour shifts. They walked out mid-season. He fired them all and trained a new team himself. That year, they pulled in 5,000 ounces, $2 million. Even Tony said, "Mike saved our asses." In 2011, Tony Beets joined Gold Rush. Back then, he wasn't supposed to be a main character. Discovery had him down for just 3 appearances in Season 2. They paid him $10,000 per episode. Nothing special, just a rugged Dutch guy in the background. But everything changed the moment Tony clashed with a young Parker Schnabel. Cameras caught Tony unloading a harsh, curse-filled rant on Parker, calling him a spoiled, know-it-all kid who wouldn't last 5 minutes in real mining. That single outburst sparked more than 50,000 comments online within a day. Ratings jumped 23% that week, hitting 3.2 million viewers. Discovery took notice. They brought him back, bumped his rate to $15,000 per episode for Season 3, and extended his screen time from 8 minutes to 20. Viewers loved the accent. They loved the brutal honesty. What was meant to be a minor role became the face of the show. A year later, in 2012, Tony tried something big. He wanted to revive an ancient 75-year-old gold dredge. It wasn't cheap. Just getting the project started cost him $200,000. Then, disaster struck. His son Mike made a mistake while running the wash plant. He accidentally lost $50,000 worth of gold-rich dirt. Tony erupted, shouting, "You just cost us a house, you idiot!" That moment blew up online. 2.3 million views on YouTube in a single week. But the gamble paid off. The dredge pulled 3,000 ounces of gold, worth $1.2 million that year. Discovery handed Tony his first $100,000 performance bonus. That episode became the most watched of the season with 4 million viewers. It was the start of a formula: raw family conflict, real stakes, and high rewards. By 2014, things got more serious. Tony's Viking dredge caught fire during filming. Hydraulic fluid leaked into Hunker Creek. The footage made for great television. But behind the scenes, Tony was facing a $400,000 environmental fine from Yukon regulators. His response to the cameras was blunt. "Those government bureaucrats can kiss my Dutch ass. I've been mining longer than they've been alive." Discovery's insurance covered cleanup, but Tony still paid $150,000 personally. That episode brought in 5 million viewers, the highest ever for the show at that point. That same year, Tony's operation dug up 4,000 ounces, worth $1.6 million. Discovery rewarded him with a salary jump to $25,000 per episode. The fire had made him a symbol, part miner, part rebel. By 2018, Discovery launched a spin-off called Gold Rush: The Dirt. Tony now earned $175,000 per episode. He wasn't just a miner on screen anymore, he was a brand. The show revealed his full equipment fleet, valued at $5 million. That included 12 excavators, 8 bulldozers, 4 wash plants, and the legendary Viking dredge. That year alone, Tony's mines pulled 6,000 ounces of gold, worth $2.4 million. Every piece of equipment was owned outright. No loans, no leases. Parker Schnabel, who visited Tony's site, said it felt like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Tony's catchphrase, "That's not mining, that's gambling," started trending. The show averaged 2.8 million viewers. Tony could carry the whole thing on his own. In 2023, Tony had his best year yet. His team pulled out 7,000 ounces, worth $2.8 million, the highest ever by a single miner in the show's history. The milestone episode drew 6 million viewers. But what surprised everyone was Tony's refusal to play along with scripted drama. He told producers straight up, "This is real mining, not Hollywood BS. Find your drama elsewhere." He walked away from fake equipment breakdowns and staged arguments. Ratings didn't drop. In fact, they rose 15%. The season ended with a quiet celebration at Tony's Dawson City compound. His crew was 47 strong. When he looked at the camera, he just said, "After 30 years in the Klondike, I've proven that hard work and smart mining beat TV drama every time." From $10,000 a week to being the soul of the show, Tony had done it on his terms. That same rebellious streak had almost taken him down in 2014, when he set fire to a pond for a Viking ritual on camera. He thought it was just a dramatic tradition. Yukon authorities didn't agree. They charged him under the Waters Act. The legal fight lasted until 2017. Tony was fined $6,000 personally. His company, Tamarack Inc., had to pay $25,000. Fans were stunned to learn the stunt had actually polluted local water. What made it worse was that Tony had been warned but ignored the rules. For once, Discovery's drama had real-world damage. In 2018, things got worse. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans denied Tony's water license. The reason? His dredges were destroying salmon habitats. Without water, there was no mining. His crew, over 30 people, sat idle for 3 months. That shutdown cost him $500,000. In a public meeting, Tony went off, calling the regulators tree huggers who are ruining hard-working families. Then, leaked papers showed Tony had skipped environmental questions on past applications. Supporters defended him. Critics weren't so kind. And Dawson City felt the impact. In 2019, Tony tried to appeal the pond fire charges. He lost. The judge was harsh, saying the fire could and should have been prevented. Tony admitted it wasn't just for the cameras. He really believed it would bring luck. The judge wasn't impressed. He added another $10,000 to the fines. But irony kicked in. That same season, Tony's crew pulled 5,000 ounces, around $2 million worth. The fines, now totaling $41,000, seemed small compared to the profit. Some called him reckless. Others called him unstoppable. In 2020, false rumors started online. People claimed Tony was going to prison for up to a year. He wasn't. But in 2022, real trouble came again. Inspectors found unlicensed mining on his claims. He faced a potential $100,000 fine. Work stopped. That shutdown alone cost $300,000, and it hit hardest because the ground they were about to dig held 4,000 ounces, worth $1.6 million. Tony's legal team scrambled. They avoided the full fine, but had to agree to strict environmental monitoring. Even for veterans like Tony, one misstep could mean losing everything. Then came 2025. A new set of government delays almost brought everything to a halt. New rules required expensive habitat restoration bonds. Tony's permits stalled during peak season. His crew, 40 workers, were at risk. Each week of delay meant $700,000 in lost gold, but fixed costs still ran $200,000. In just 3 weeks, Tony lost over $2.1 million. He didn't sit still. He flew to Whitehorse, met with regulators, gave speeches, and pushed hard. The permits were finally granted, but it shook him. He posted on Facebook saying he would fight this system for future generations. Over 100,000 people reacted. Working families across North America felt the same frustration. Behind all this was a shocking truth. Tony Beets had built an empire. From nothing in 1980 to a $25 million mining operation in 2025, Tamarack Inky now held 337 claims in the Yukon. Each year, Tony pulled 1,500 to 2,000 ounces, worth between $3 and $4.1 million. His net income sat between $1.5 and $2.2 million. Discovery paid him another $300,000 to $400,000 yearly. He reinvested 70% of that money. In just one season, he spent $5 million in new gear. That reinvestment is what kept him ahead. His machines alone were worth $5 million. Huge Volvo EC 950s, EC 550s. The old Walter Johnson dredge from California, shipped to Yukon after only 6 seasons down south. His machines ran around the clock for 7 months a year. He used big blue welders, XMT 350s. There was always something to fix. As Tony says, there is always something worn out. A $400,000 bet on an old trommel turned into a gold-making beast. But Tony didn't just mine. He lived. In the off-season, he relaxed in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Oceanfront condo, hot tub on the deck. He spent $50,000 a year just vacationing there. Altogether, he owned $1.5 million in real estate, including the Mexican condo and his Yukon home. He even had $800,000 in the stock market. Still, during mining season, he slept on a couch in a basic Yukon cabin. Water and chocolate milk in the fridge. That was it. Now at 65, he works 12 to 14 hours a day, 7 days a week during the season. Rain, snow, mud, it doesn't matter. In 2014, he lit gasoline in a dredge pond and got hit with $31,000 in fines. But it didn't stop him. Nothing ever did.